started thinking about mortality, I've had a couple of very good friends pass in the last handful of months and years. And these are all just titans of men, just insanely amazing people that you would just love, that I would have loved to interview if they had been alive today to do this. But one thing I realized as I was thinking about, what would happen if I were to pass? What would that look like? I'm not particularly interested in what happens after I'm dead. I just don't care about myself. I'm just whatever. If it happens, I'm not really stressed about it. But what does worry me is that all the connective tissue of all the things that I've built up over my life will just disappear. One thing that's interesting about my life is that I have had a very sort of unique way of looking at things by virtue of what I've been exposed to. It's not just that I've read about these cool things online. I've actually written a lot of the tools that are used by attackers. I've actually interacted with a lot of these people. And the people you see on the news are often people I've either put in the news or people I know tangentially by virtue of my very strong friend group. So one of the things that I worry about is after I'm long gone, there won't be anybody to put all those pieces together. The puzzle pieces just won't fit anymore because I'll just not be there. So one of the main things I wanted to do on this podcast is put those puzzle pieces together ahead of time, making sure that you, the listener or viewer, have the opportunity to watch what's happening with me, and you get to see the same people that I talk to. Now, some of these people are not going to want to go on camera for a wide variety of reasons. Either they're truly bad guys and they just don't want to get caught, or they're, deep undercover and they just don't want to get caught, and it's all the sort of the same thing and different versions of it. So I'm not going to be able to get everybody I'd like to have on this podcast. However, what I can do is I can show the audience this is the kind of thing that I'm seeing out here, and directionally point to, well, you're just going to have to take my word for it. Now, if I were to write a book or if I were to write a blog post or something, you really have to take my word for it completely. Like, well, what's the proof? But now with this podcast, I get to sit across from a table from somebody who's quite remarkable in their own right. It knows something very unique. One of the things that is unique about my friends is they all are very passionate about something. Not necessarily the same thing, and sometimes not even close to the same genre, but they're all passionate about something. And I'm really driven by their passion. I get to know things that I wouldn't be able to get to know if I were to read a blog post or read a story or white paper or whatever. You have to know these people and sit down across a table. You really have to spend time, sometimes drinking late at night, just to even get them open long enough to have this very intense part of the conversation where that tidbit, that one little nugget comes across. And in this case, I've amassed a wonderful group of friends who I have had those kind of deep conversations with. And as I progress, I'm sure I'm going to end up with people who I don't know as well. And one of the beauties of having a long form podcast is I get the opportunity to sort of crack them open just a little bit. You might have noticed with Joe Scaramucci, for instance, it took a while for him to sort of relax and start talking to me openly. Other people, you might take them a full hour just to have their backstory. Dr. Sheila Newsom, for instance, a full hour just to get to the point where they're going to start talking openly. I have the patience and interest in people and their backstories to get them to talk to me, not just because I want a crazy story out of them, but also because it helps me draw lines between everything that's going on in the world and around them. And from there, I get to show you, like, this is why I think the things I think. This is the kind of person I am by virtue of the signals that I'm receiving from these people, my friends, and just random people from the street that I might get in touch with. These are the kinds of things that are shaping how I think about things. And I believe that they're important enough that they should shape how you think about things too. So as I progress and as I get more interesting people on this podcast, expect me to start drawing more and more parallels between these people. So you, the audience, get to really dig in and go, oh, that's why he's saying that thing. And sometimes it comes from a very deep technical place. Sometimes it's social issues. But whatever the connective tissue it is there, I really want the audience to come with me and follow this deep, important thread. Because together, ultimately, if we don't have this level of nuance, and we don't have this conversation together, we're probably not talking about the same thing at the same time, and you're probably just not talking about the same thing even directionally that other people are. So while I might not agree with everything that these people say, and unfortunately they're going to have some pretty polarizing opinions, I think it's important to draw that out so that we can all see it, we can all point to it, and we can disagree with it openly instead of saying, well, that I don't like it, so I'm going to turn it off. No, let's sit down and have these tough conversations, and ultimately we're going to find out who's right, who's wrong, and I think it'll make us all a little bit better.